Morning, guys. I'm that Pinay nurse. So, welcome to Nursing Informatics, Computer System, and Computer Software. Computer System and Computer Software. We have computer software, or simply software as we know it, is any set of machine-readable instruction that directs a computer's processor to perform a specific operation. So, software is stored in a computer's memory as and is intangible. So the software mainly are like directions for the computer. So if you input this kind of software or direction to the computer and you ask the computer to do a specific task, if the computer has these directions or software, the computer will be able to do the specific task that you want the computer to do. So what are the types of software? We have application software, system software. We have also malicious software or malware. So let's look at application software, which uses the computer system to perform special functions or provide entertainment function beyond the basic operation of the computer itself. For example, we have the Facebook is an application software. It allows us to communicate with others via chat or video. We have YouTube is an application that allows to play videos. We have famous now. We have a TikTok is also a software for cell phones. We have a Spotify, a software that plays music. So those are types of application software. Now, another one is a system software, which is designed to directly operate the computer hardware to provide basic functionality needed by users and other software. So basically, system software are the directions or the software that are used by the computer to function. For example, Windows, you have Windows, iOS, you have a Linux, we have a Macintosh. Uh, for example, Windows have different kinds of software. Windows 10, Windows 7, 8, and what else? Before way back Windows XP. So those are kinds of system software that allow your computer to function a specific type of function. Next, and third, we have the malicious software or malware, which are computer programs developed to harm and disrupt computers. So malware is closely associated with computer-related crimes through some malicious program uh, may have been designed as practical jokes. So uh, malware or what we commonly known as viruses are software. So they are malicious software. So there are different types of malware. We have common that we know of are the Trojan. We have virus. We have worms. Okay. We have rootkits. Then what else? We have spyware, we have crimeware, and we have adware. Okay, so I know that you have discussed also this malicious ware or malicious software in your living the IT era. So one example was the famous love bug. Okay, that was a malicious software created by a Filipino that creates a spam in your email. Okay, so those are the types of software. We have application, system, and malicious software. So we also give an introduction or an idea for open software and free software. Now, this topic is a very huge topic, so we are just going to provide you a introduction so for you to have a basic idea of the two. Now, free software is a matter of the user's freedom to run, copy, distribute, study, change, and improve the software in any way they wish. A program is only free software if users have all these freedoms. Example are Amazon, Yahoo, and Google. Now, when I know you're thinking if free software, so in a sense libre or walang bayad, but that's not the definition of free software. Okay, so free here means freedom. Okay, freedom meaning this free software, it doesn't mean that it does not have any price or it doesn't cost anything, but in a sense that free software gives the user freedom to run, copy, distribute, study, or change or improve the software. So the focus in free software is in the freedom of using the software. Next, we have open source software. So we have open source software is any software that satisfies the open source initiative definition. Now, open source software is basically started by the Open Software Initiative. So the open source concept is said to promote software reliability and quality by supporting independent peer review and rapid evolution of source code, as well as making the source code software freely available. Now, uh, basically, free and open software are more the same in context, but they have a few dissimilarities. Okay, so open software has 10 points to consider to be open software. We have number one, source code. The program must include source code and must follow distribution in source code as well as complied form. Where some of the product is not distributed with source code, there must be a well publicized means of obtaining the source code for no more than a reasonable reproduction cost, preferably downloading via the internet without charges. Now, source code is it has to be available. What is the source code? Source code is the program that runs your software. Okay, so according to open source software, it must be uh, accessible. Okay, so we have number two, free redistribution. So the license shall not restrict any part of selling or giving away the software as a component of an aggregate software distribution containing programs from several different sources. The license shall not require a royalty or other fee for such sale. So you are allowed to redistribute the the, the software. Three, derived works. The license must allow modification and derived works and must allow them to be distributed under the same term as the license of the original software. So if you modify a software, the software that you modified must also be allowed to be modified by others because you have the same term as the original software. Number four, integrity of author source code. The license may restrict source code from being distributed in modified form only if the license allows the distribution of patch files with the source code for the purpose of modifying the program at build time. The license must explicitly permit distribution of software built from modified source code. So here, number four means that the source code must be um, restricted in modified form so that uh, you can modify a source code based on the original uh, form. So given if it is already modified, then the modified form will be used uh, to uh, to create modifications and to improve the software better. Okay. Number five, no discrimination against person or groups. The license must not discriminate against any person or group of person. Meaning, uh, the software must be a, must any person or any group must be allowed to access this software. Okay. So number six, no discrimination against field of endeavor. The license must not restrict anyone from making use of the program in a specific field or endeavor. Example, it may not restrict the program from being used in a business or being used in a genetic research. So the software must not be limited in the field. So for example, if a software can be used in business, it must be that it can also be used for research, nursing, medical, engineering, so things like that. Number seven, distribution of license. The rights attached to the program must apply to all whom the program is redistributed without the need of execution of an additional license by those. Meaning, if you used a open source software program to modify and you build your own software, so that software that you build must be redistributed without the need for execution of additional license, because as per the points in the open source system, if you get your resource in the open source system, it must be also allowed to be redistributed, because the purpose of this is for modification of software, for improvement of software, for the betterment of the everyone. Okay, number eight, license must not be specific to a product. The right attached to the program must not depend on the program being part of the particular software distribution. If the program is extracted from the distribution and used or distributed within the term of the program's license, all parties to whom the program is redistributed should have the same rights as those of the are granted in the conjunction with the original software distribution. Okay, so means that it must not be specific to the product. All of the software that you have must be uh, have the same redistribution process. So the goal here is just to be able to redistribute the software that you have modified. Number nine, license must not restrict other software. So the license must not place restriction on other softwares that is distributed along with the licensed software. For example, the license must not insist that all other programs distributed in the same medium must be open source software. So the software must not restrict other software. So uh, that's it. Literally, the software must not restrict other software. So you cannot create a software that restricts other software to use only open source software. Number 10, license must be technology and neutral. No provisions or license may be predicated or any individual technology or style or of interface. So any technology neutral, meaning the software must be able to used in any type of technology or style. So we have here a simple contrast between open source and free software. So mainly open source software has its distribution of license, as we talked about, availability of the source code, free distribution and integrity of authors with the source code. So if you modify something, so it must have a author source code to be able for the next author to know who modified the software. We have free software, on the other hand, is a freedom to run the program for any purpose, freedom to study about the program, freedom to distribute copies of software, freedom to modify, improve program, and release the improvement to the public. Basically, uh, those are the difference. So, free software talks about freedom, while open source software provides you the source codes, okay, to be able to modify the software or the code. So we have here open source is a development methodology, meaning uh, the method of developing the software, that is the focus of open source. So they are trying to modify each source code to provide a uh, better code or better program for the people. So open source tends to focus on providing an economic or business argument for free software, and using of open source software is beneficial to you and your business. Free software, on the other hand, is a social movement, because they talk about the freedom to do the program, to do whatever you want with the program. So free software focuses on providing a moral, ethical argument for software. So free software is more on moral and ethical of what you can do personally, your freedom on what you can do to the program. On the other hand, open software is more on methodological or economic or business, because there was a problem when you are pitching an idea to a company and you're talking about free software, and they are thinking that a free software has no monetary value. So they changed that terminology into open source software. For businesses, it is much more beneficial. Lastly, you have using free software is good, morally right, and the right thing to do. So Basically, free software is more on focusing on the moral side, or what is the right thing to do with your software. People will be able to do anything, distribute, uh, change your software, the program. So that is the focus on the free software. Okay, so just a little introduction, because open source and free software is a very big topic. Uh, Basically, for nursing informatics, it is important for us just to be able to identify the differences. Okay, so unlike information technology, where you really have to deal with the in-depth of open source and free softwares. Okay, so we have example of open source software and free software. So we have open EHR, or the electronic health record, open EMR, electronic medical record, and we have the free med, or the care, two times 2XS. Okay, so that's it for the software, computer software. These are the references, especially for uh, computer and nursing and computer system. Okay, so that's it, guys. Always stay interested. I'm that Pinoy nurse. Thank you, and God bless.